Ryan Goodman and Tanguay podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
All right, folks, it's that time again. Gary Tanguay, Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Ryan Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride podcast, and we are brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, just go to FanDuel.com/Boston to join today. Okay, guys, here we go. Let's start with the rumor mill. And by the way, we will get to Bob Ryan's T-shirt later in the show. It's just he is so hip right now. He is like retro cool.
Retro. He's had that. Wait. He's had that T-shirt for how many years? I'm not sure it's retro. I think he bought it and still has it.
Yeah.
31.
Anytime I see Bob Ryan in an uncollared shirt, it's like a holiday. Here we go. So I think something's afoot with Jaylen Brown. Bob, I'll start with you. Something smells rotten in Denmark to me. I'm reading the tea leaves, and this is what I read. I don't think Brad wants to pay him. I think Jaylen doesn't want to be here, and the only way he'll be here is if he gets paid. I think that Brad Stevens has shown that he can be cold and heartless and all about business when he traded Marcus Smart. Something smells with this Brown thing. Your thoughts?
I'm not as, deeply suspicious as you appear to be at all. But I must say the one loose end in my mind is that he's never expressed complete fidelity to the city or the cause. He's had opportunities, I think, and he left people wondering what's he really think about being here, and we know that. A, B, there's this lingering issue of how good he thinks he is and whether he should be regarded as the equal of Tatum, and does he want to go somewhere, to quote, have his own show, unquote, a la Kyrie, years ago. This is all just all speculation because he's never. He only leaves you wondering. He doesn't say anything about it. But I still think they'll get it done. I just think they got to pay him. I wish they didn't have to pay him the max. I've gone through that because that's the reason they have to pay him the max is a stupid reason. Because he made second team all league. I mean, that's absurd. They should never have been codified. But anyway, it's the reality. And so I'm not. I'm worried, but I'm not. I mean, I'm not worried. I'm anxious to get it done. I still think it'll be done.
Again, I said this last week a little bit. Is it dragging a little bit because Brad Stevens is so smart, for lack of a better word, and just saying, like, I'm not going to rush into this thing. Who knows what the asking price is going to be for Damian Lillard in a week or 2 weeks? Let me slow play this a little bit. And who knows? Maybe the asking price comes down enough. Also the fifth-year player option is important in this one because otherwise you're basically giving Jaylen Brown control for 5 years. And again, listen, guys, do we really think, unless they win a title, do we really think there's any chance Jaylen Brown is here for 5 more years after this year?
No.
No chance.
No.
Zero.
No.
Zero.
I don't even think Tatum's a long timer.
If they don't win a title, you could be right.
If they don't win a title, I think he's gone.
I don't know if he's gone because he's still the guy and beloved here today. But you're right. If he doesn't win a title next year, does the fan base start to turn on Tatum and Brown more than they turn on, Brad Stevens? This year is Joe Mazzulla, right? Mazzulla was the fall guy this year for the most part. He was the one everybody was expressing their anger at. But I think next year it flips and it becomes whether it's Tatum or Brown or a combination of both.
But I also think that the Mazzulla thing will linger until unless they do win.
Yeah, they got to win in the playoffs.
I'm just saying, he's a handy target, and it's particularly, my God, if Houston has a turnaround year next year.
They won't, Bob. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
I mean, they may turn around and win 10 more games. But
and a turnaround year would be 38 and 44, right? So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, to wrap this one up, I just have a feeling that the player doesn't really want to be here in Brown, and the Celtics don't want him at that money. And that's just what I keep coming back to. Now, Bob's right. Everything Bob said is factually correct. So it's almost like a forced marriage, which I don't like. I really don't like that. So we'll see. But
why can't we get Embiid? Let's trade Jaylen Brown and get Embiid to Boston.
Let's get it. There's a segue, kid. And then we have Porzingis and Embiid shooting threes. That's what we have. 2-7 shooting threes.
Yeah.
So Embiid has said that he wants to win a championship regardless of where it is, right? Your thoughts on that, Jeff? And Darren Morey had some comments on that.
I mean, Joel's always spoken his mind. It's funny. I mean, he's really, I think, matured the last couple of years. I spoke to him when he came here to Boston about it, and he said a lot of it is because he had a son recently. So in the last couple of years, you look at Joel, and again, the Joel that I've known, the happy-go-lucky, talking shit on the court, isn't there as much. He's more focused. I think his whole deal is, listen, I've been in Philly for all this time. I had to deal with the tanking at first. I then had to deal with playing with Ben Simmons, and look how Ben's turned out. Now I got James Harden. Like, what the hell is going on here? I'm sure he's frustrated. I'm sure, he's kind of at the end of his rope here. He's, he signed a 4-year, $215 million deal that goes through 2027. So I would think, to me, I think this is probably the beginning of the end for Philly, just because I don't think they're going to get enough for Harden. And look at that roster now. I mean, Tyrese Maxey is clearly – Maxey and Tobias Harris are nice players. They're nice players, but they're not more than pieces, and you need a second star-type player. Philly is not going to have that because they're not going to – James Harden doesn't command that. Most teams don't even want James Harden in their roster. Never mind give anything of value up for James Harden right now.
He's 28. He'll be 29 in March. That's the stage for sure where guys start to say, okay, I want to win for sure. If they haven't done it, this is a textbook scenario that we are in a modern NBA that we're looking at here with him. Okay. He's been a bridesmaid. He's never even been a maid of honor. He's only been a bridesmaid. They get knocked out in the conference semis 4 years, I believe it is. Okay. So he's tired of that. And you identified he had to play with, first of all, he had a delayed start in his career, 2 years. And then he has to live with the Simmons scenario. And you're right about and Harden not. So it doesn't surprise me. I think no one should be surprised at this at all. So I'm just nodding. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Tell me when there's new news, Right. I wouldn't miss any star, 28, 29 years old, whether it's Joe Embiid or anyone else you can name that would make that statement. I would be going, yeah. What else you want him to say?
Well,
here's my trade proposal for both of you. Here's my trade proposal. I don't even know if the numbers work, but let me throw it out there for you. Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon for Joel Embiid and PJ Tucker. Would you do it, Robert?
Do it in a heartbeat. But with Philly?
Yeah, that Philly would laugh, don't you think?
Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, again, you get a young player. If Jaylen Brown, think about it. If you're Jaylen Brown, you're the guy then. You get what you wanted. So you sign the extension. You're in Philly. You get to show Boston, hey, I'm better than you thought I was. I am a number one guy, which I don't think he is. And Boston, you get an injury-prone-ish big man who, yes, he can shoot threes, Gary. He can also dominate in the post.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want him in the post. I mean, I was kind of joking with about, when you have he and Porzingis, you definitely want him in the post. Look, I think we all agree we would do that tomorrow. You just mentioned the injury thing. That's the selling point. If you're the Celtics, you go, look, well, Embiid, what's he going to play? Half a season? So, okay. But if I'm Philly, man, I don't know if I'm doing that deal.
You're probably not. You're probably not until the point when you realize. And you know what? If you're Boston, I'd throw in 2 first-round picks. Those 2 first-round picks,
I would
take
too.
them. Take all the second-round picks we just acquired. Take them all, because if you throw Tatum and Embiid out there, okay. I mean, again, a lot of pressure on Derek White. but there's going to be a lot of pressure on Derek White next year.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah. I mean, to me, that doesn't matter. Well, first of all, the great thing about trade talk now is as soon as we say take the numbers out of it, we're good. But I will say this, Bob, to Jeff's point. I think that if we're thinking about it, Brad Stevens is thinking about it. And I think Brad Stevens is thinking about everything, because last year was a debacle. So I think as far as Stevens is concerned, based on what we've seen him do so far, guys, we know he's not shy to pull the trigger. He's not shy to make moves. Brad Stevens is he is turning over every stone in the NBA. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times. That's 10 times your first bet amount of bonus bets and up to $200. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to be, hitting the first home run. All in the app that's safe, secure, it's super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
I would buy that. So
here's what I'll tell you. I'm looking at the numbers as we speak. Jaylen Brown's at 31.8. Brogdon's at 22.5. That's about 54. And Embiid's 47.6 and Tucker's 11. That's about 58. The numbers work, guys. And you know what Tucker does? Tucker fills a lot of voids that this team needs. One being a vocal absolute killer. So, I mean, listen, for the Celtics, that would be an absolute no-brainer, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course it's
for the Sixers, you're probably saying, hey, we need more, but the more may be, again, first-round picks, maybe, I don't know if they have another young player. That's the problem. Well, give him Robert Williams. Give him Robert Williams. If you want him instead of Brogdon, you can have him.
If you're going to import Embiid,
Right. Give him Robert Williams, too, and we'll take on whoever they don't want. Whatever the guy is that they don't want down the end of the bench, take the dead weight on. Who cares?
Well, Embiid would be rejuvenated. There's no doubt about it. He's more serious. He wants to win a title. Again, you'd have to look around the NBA if you're Philadelphia and see if there's a better offer out there. But I like the way you're going, Jeff Goodman. That's what we do in the summer.
Yeah.
We make stuff up. We pontificate. I like it.
Meanwhile, back to Philly for a second in the Harden situation, which Daryl Morey addressed yesterday, and that is, I want a star player back. Really? But Harden he's an odd duck. Obviously, and Jeff's already stated. You wonder who would really, after all we've seen,
right?
And now we've had plenty of, what is he, 31, too? He's been in this league a long time. People know what it is. There's no secrets at all. People know what you're going to get. And I would think that the more teams don't want to bother with him than would want to bother.
Agreed, Bob.
Harden turns 34 in a couple.
Oh my God!
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah. So, God, of course, Daryl, of course you would, but no,
Morey's delusional. He's delusional. Again, remember when the whole Ben Simmons thing happened? He held out, and got Harden, and that was considered a win. Well, now looking back on it, a little bit of a win.
I want to back up very, very quickly to something you said, Jeff, and I want to identify myself as a paid-up member of the Tyrese Maxey fan club. I think he's a little bit better than you implied there. He is certainly not the same level as Harris. He's a better player, and he's got a better future than Harris is older, of course, but I mean, he's going to be a player.
Yeah, I mean, can he be a bona fide number 2 for a team that can go deep in the playoffs? That's my big question with Tyrese Maxey. Is I think Tobias is fine as like your number 3, but I don't think Maxey's. I'm not sure he's ever going to get there where he's a number 2 guy. But I didn't think Jaylen Brown would ever get there, and he did.
I didn't think Jalen Brunson, and as much as I loved him, he's exceeded my expectation. And it's possible maybe, although his edge is, up here.
Yes.
So
His intangibles.
You can't implant that into anybody else. What he brings. That's impossible. So.
Well, yeah, speaking of that, as we go to that, as you guys termed the Villanova Knicks with DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jaylen Brunson together. Jeff, you know these guys very well. How do you see this working out?
I mean, those dudes are just winners. Like, that's what they are from Villanova. They won titles. Brunson was, I think, the only guy to win 2 titles. He won one coming off the bench and then won one as a starter there in the modern era here. Bob talked about his intangibles are just off the charts. His toughness, everybody questioned him. Now you bring in Josh Hart and DiVincenzo, 2 other Villanova guys on those championship teams. And, you're just building a Knicks franchise now with good culture, right? Good culture. Are they talented enough to make the next jump? I'm not convinced of that. But I think now, first of all, you're adding more trade equity. That if you do need to make a move, you've got some other good pieces that people like, which DiVincenzo and Josh Hart are. You got to make a move at some point. The only way you're going to take that jump and be, to me, Eastern Conference title contenders is to move one of Julius Randle or RJ Barrett or both for, a better star to play along with Brunson. But again, they've done a good job getting to this point. I think they're a little bit maxed out with their current roster right now. But man, Brunson has been everything and more that they could have asked for.
I'll go back to what I said a year ago, that I said, I love him, but they're over, they're treating him as a star when I think he's an auxiliary player. Bob, mea maxima culpa. Bob Ryan, you were wrong. Happily wrong. I love being wrong in that manner. And the guy had a sensational year, and there's no reason why that won't continue.
Now let's get to Bob's t-shirt. Now, Bob's t-shirt I absolutely love. And for those maybe who don't know, and I don't know why you wouldn't, there's Larry Bird, there's Magic Johnson. It is the dream team. And we're going to talk a little FIFA basketball. And I'm going to introduce this topic with a story. Ron Borges, who was, I believe, rooming with Bob Ryan at the Seoul Olympics.
No, in Barcelona.
I'm sorry, not Seoul, Barcelona. So Borges tells me they were both working for the Globe at the time. He says, I asked one question of Bob Ryan, and he answered it over the next 48 hours. Borges said, he said to Bob, all these pros playing, what's the big deal? And Bob went, whoa, what do you mean, what was the big deal? Bob, I remember that, and we know that it changed the scope of the Olympics and amateurism was gone, and we loved that and so forth. But that was just such a monumental cultural moment with Jordan and Magic and Larry and all those guys on the same team. Take us back to that, if you could.
It was an extraordinary experience. One of my favorite memories of a 44-year career with the Globe, and it was exceeded any expectation for the scope. Because it was not about winning and losing. Everybody knew they were going to win.
Yeah.
This was about exposing, and the whole purpose of it. Americans will still, some people just refuse to acknowledge what I'm about to say because they just don't understand. And that is, this wasn't America's idea. This was the idea of Boris Stankovic, the executive secretary, or whatever the title was, the big cheese, the big kahuna of FIBA at the time. He was a Serb who would, and he had been a basketball player. Anyway, he was the cheese of all the rest of the world's basketball FIBA. He wanted to raise the bar to show the rest of the world where they have to be by bringing in the Americans' best players and showing that what this is what you got to strive for. And we didn't even vote for it, by the way. But we reluctantly went into this. Stern went along with it, and we constructed this dream team in 1992 to go to the Olympics, the first professionals, but it wasn't our idea. Okay, so the tip off was immediate. We get to Portland for the tournament. We had to qualify, by the way, for the Olympics. We had to qualify. And it was a tournament of the Americas, North America, South America. It was in Portland, Oregon. And our first game was against Cuba. And before the game started, Cubans asked to have a joint team photo taken as a keepsake. Then we went out and obviously buried the Cubans. And a great line from the Cuban coach about the scope of the American splendor of this team. And it was, one finger cannot cover the whole sun, he said. and so, so that's began the ritual. Before every game, the team had the photo taken. And my favorite isolated moment of the entire Olympic experience was we're playing Argentina. And they had a guard named Marco Milanesio, who was 6'5", a good player. I'd say, Jeff, the kind of guy could be player of the year in the MAC, Okay. And he'd get drafted, but he wouldn't make the team, but he'd make somebody work hard. You know what I mean? That kind of guy. Anyway, good player, 6'5". He finds himself on a switch where he is being guarded by Magic. And he's posting up Magic on the switch that Magic switched off. And he's facing the Argentine bench, and he's yelling to them, "Fotografia, fotografia." Something to show the grandchildren.
Totally.
I want to see that photograph. Okay, that. So anyway, now we get to Monte Carlo, and that was another experience, and for a week. And point being, everywhere they went, and in Barcelona they were rock stars. They were complete rock stars. It was and everybody else lived in the village. They lived in a 4-star hotel, and nobody cared. I mean, nobody thought they heard nobody mind. Anyway, and then and the games go, and we're showing them how to play basketball. And we trailed once for one possession in the entire Olympics. And that was against Croatia in the championship game where we fell behind something like in 1918, something like that. One possession lasted less than 20 seconds because Barkley came down and drilled a 3 to put us ahead. And we never looked back. And here's the great one, guys. Chuck Daly, in the course of the entire tournament, never called a timeout. And so, there was no need. So anyway, never needed to call a timeout. So that's that. I mean, but the experience. Now, here's how I'm summing it up. You think we would have had 100+ international players, which we have every year now in the NBA, absent the Dream Team? The answer is no. We spread the basketball gospel. That's what Boris Stankovic wanted. We spread the gospel, and it was. And so for people who think we just were sulking and sore losers because we got beat by the Russians, or the Soviets, in Seoul in '88, no, had nothing to do with that. This had everything to do with Boris Stankovic wanting to raise the bar, and we went along with the program.
And it worked.
It's worked. Look at the NBA today.
Well, we're better for it, though.
We're much better for it. Hey, our last 3 MVPs, who are they?
Yeah,
a Greek,
national guys. Yep,
a Serbian. And a Cameroonian.
Yeah, and we love the way they play the game. I mean, we love to watch Denver.
No, and that's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have a little Slovenian in Dallas. He's not too bad. And but we've got all anyway.
And you get a Frenchman as your number 1 draft pick.
Okay, so now you want to know about the shirt.
Go ahead.
It's the last day in Portland at the Tournament of the Americas. We Sunday, and I am writing at the scores table where we were, and after the game. And I hear an announcement over the PA that they were having a closeout sale on merchandise. Anybody interested? Now's the time. I went up to the stand and found this T-shirt, a Larry Magic T-shirt. And on the front, you can see their images. On the back, done as the respective 10 commandments are their achievements at the time in 1992. So I've had this shirt for 31 years, and it's one of my great possessions. I love that. I break it out on important occasions such as this one.
And now you have some thoughts. You have the schedule for international basketball.
Yeah, now we got to.
Bob, are you going to get a FIBA World Cup 2023 shirt too with Paolo Banchero's?
Paolo Banchero or Bobby Portis, That's right. No, I mean, we will discuss this in depth when we get closer because it doesn't come until the 25th of August. But just so people know, the FIBA World Cup, which of course FIBA wants to make into a more important championship than the Olympics, and the rest of the world has always honored it a little more than we did. We're going to have a team coached by Steve Kerr, and it's on the 25th of August in the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? And we are in Group C with Jordan, Greece, and New Zealand. I'll just run down the roster quickly, and you can contemplate it. our roster: Paolo Banchero, Mike Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cam Johnson, Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, and Austin Reeves. That's our roster.
What, LeBron's not making the trip?
It's a B. What would you say, Jeff? A B plus roster or B?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think who, you've got some. Paulo's going to be a star. You know that. Brunson's on the verge of it. Anthony Edwards could be a star. Halliburton's one of the best 25 players, I think, in the game right now. Jaren Jackson's terrific. So I think you've got a handful of future stars and then some good young pieces. Obviously, the names that are missing a little bit that you thought might be on a team like this, a Zion Williamson, if he was healthy. John Morant obviously is not going to be on this roster right now, but Tatum's at the next level now, right? He's already established himself. But these are guys that are on their come up.
Yeah.
I was looking at big men. We got Jaren Jackson Jr., who I forgot, frankly. He was a defensive player of the year.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't know his nickname, the Block Panther. I didn't know that. I love that.
I didn't either.
That's what they claim it is on Wikipedia, by the way. Walker Kessler should be honored, huh?
Yeah.
He can block shots, though, can he?
Hey, listen, he's been way better because he's not super athletic, but elite shot blocker. Have you looked at Canada's roster?
I'm looking at Canada. I'm just going to give you one more name that a year ago you would have absolutely said, okay, Bob, you've taken leave of your senses. This guy has zero chance of being on any team. Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
I mean, he's talk about a upward mobility.
Undrafted to he could shoot the hell out of the ball.
Here's Team Canada, American.
Right. Yep.
Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, R.J. Barrett, Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kelly Olynyk, Dwight Powell, Celtic O'Shea Brissett, and Corey Joseph. Big missing, Andrew Wiggins. I don't know what the deal is there.
Wiggins is just a different dude. He's always been a different dude. He's kind of done his own thing. But listen, Murray and Shea.
They got perimeter power there.
Yeah, Murray and Shea are great. But I'll tell you what, I love the Brunson, Halliburton point guard, young 2 point guards for the U.S. That are elite. And they got guys on the team that can shoot the hell out of the ball. That's the thing. Like Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson shoots the hell out of it. So I like the way they're constructing these teams. They may not be the most talented, but it's the right way to construct them for the most part.
Yeah, and I love who the coach is. We're in good hands with Steve Kerr. So anyway, that's it. The other country, we won't go through it. Germany, just quickly, Maxey Kleber, Dennis Schroeder, Daniel Tice, and the Wagner brothers, Fritz and Moritz. Those are the 5 NBA players on Team Germany. But anyway, when we get closer, we'll dissect this more. But just alerting people that it's coming up, and that our national honor will be at stake.
Well, I love the Bob Ryan Dream Team stories, and just as I wrap things up, I cannot think of a better coach for that team than Chuck Daly.
Chuck was perfect. He was central casting, sent a coach whose ego would not get in the way. And let me give you a Chuck Daly moment, and then on our farewell, right? So, of course, I knew Chuck from BC back in 1969, and we got very friendly. And as a matter of fact, when he left BC to go to Penn, take the job, he invited my wife and myself over with our infant son to dinner, and we in Jamaica Plain where he lived. Yeah. Anyway, and Chuck and I were friendly so we find ourselves in Monaco at the end of the day, up at the swimming pool at the Loews Monaco where we stayed, and Monte Carlo where we stayed. And I'm laying on one divan and he's laying on next to me. We're looking out at the Mediterranean, and he says, God, whoever thought it would come to this for both of us. Yeah, so there you crazy. Go. God rest your soul, Chuck Daly. You were a tremendously fun guy to know.
I love the guy. I mean, I think he was great for the league. Bob Ryan, always a pleasure. Jeff Goodman. Until next time, this episode of Ryan Goodman, Tanguay Along for the Ride Pod and Zoom is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Gentlemen, until next week.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed.